Hey, welcome. Day 23. Oh my God, only 7 more days. Hi, replay viewers. Glad you're here. Really, so happy you're here. And post your name in the comments so I can say hi later. And today is kind of an interesting one. I really was churning all morning on what do I want to talk about today? And I realize it's about all of the things. This is going to be a pep talk. This is going to be straight up pep talk. So this will be one you can come back to and listen to whenever you feel discouraged by dating or relationship, because let's face it, this is a journey. You're working on preparing for a relationship. You play in the dating space, and then you meet someone, and that's a next level universe of creation. And when I say creation, I'm being really nice because it can be challenging at times to get to know someone. So I'm letting people join the live, but as you're joining the live, consider what kind of keeps you from moving forward in your love life, and post any of that in the comments. Like, what bugs you about dating? What do you feel like you need in order to take that next step? What have you decided about online dating? Oh, good. There's some comments. Oh my goodness, Nikki, you are a rock star. High five. Mandy, yay, of course. So glad you're here. Whoever else is here, say hi. So I was thinking about all of the things that come up around dating where we say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to move forward until this happens. So oh, good. Sonia's here. I was actually wooing you in. I was imagining this session this morning kind of like locker room talk before a game. Like we're going through all of the things that I want you to know that you can trust about dating and relationships. And so this is going to be a little bit maybe of a list. But like I said, I want you to be able to use this as a guide, because our mind can go in a million different places around all this. And so wherever you are in a relationship or wherever you are in the dating cycle, this is important. So, hey, Leslie, good. Glad you're here. So some of the things that I was noticing first, if we can trust that the universe always has your back, if you could trust that the universe always has your back, how would that change the way you date? You don't have to answer this, but I'm just inviting you to consider, where are you going into the things aren't working, I need to control this, what's happening? I mean, there is basic awareness required to be successful in dating. You want to know who you are, have that self-awareness of who you are and what works for you. Same in relationships, because you're going to get into a relationship and it can, if you've been in the habit of people pleasing, or you're afraid you're going to lose the relationship, you can start doing some contortions around that. So can you be that support for yourself? That's why we're doing this whole trust thing. But there are a lot of things that I hear from people that just aren't true, like with dating. So what does Nikki say? Nikki says, I overthink and make it more challenging in my mind than it really is. Yeah, with online dating, Of course, if you are noticing that you have anxiety about it or you sense walls coming up, then that's an indication that deeper work wants to happen so that you can feel safe. Because let's just look at the basic. What we can trust about online dating is that it's software. That 100% we can trust. Online dating is just software. It's a technology and it's not out to get you. So we can trust that. We can also trust that, within that it's a database. So it's a database and people can put their information in there. We can trust that that's all it is. I mean, we can also trust that there are there's no vetting ahead of time. So there's no site out there that's like the promised land where all the really special quality ones are hanging out, because that doesn't even make sense, right? I mean, everybody's person is totally unique. So for those of you who have said, oh yeah, I tried this site for 2 weeks and, it didn't work out and I guess I need a new site. I just be aware of that, because sometimes it's, other things. It could be your profile. It could be that there just really isn't anybody that in that one session when you logged on that was interesting in that moment that you crossed paths with. That's okay. There's a lot of different things that can play a part in that you can actually work with. So you can trust that. You can trust that. You can trust that if someone says, I am not ready for a serious relationship, you can trust that that's probably then not a match for you. If you want a serious relationship and someone's saying, I don't want a serious relationship, you can trust that. So sometimes these things, I know that probably seems ridiculous hearing that, but I have personally been in that situation. I remember I dated this guy who was just wooing me. And he was like, oh yeah, I tend to not get into serious relationships. And I'm like, well, obviously he really likes me, so that'll be different. And so that was kind of a joke, because he did exactly what he said he was. He disappeared and he just couldn't do a relationship. So you can trust that. You can also trust that, and this is a big one, if you're asking for, or if you have that desire in your heart that's pulling you, saying, yeah, it would be really fun to have a person in my life, you can trust that that is possible. You can trust that your person exists 100%. I know a lot of you probably aren't going to believe me on that as 100%, but it is 100%. If you have that desire to have a love relationship, you can trust that it is possible. And that if you ask for it, and that, if you meet people and take steps towards it, that you can absolutely have it. You can trust that. So, you can also trust that if you give up and walk away, that you probably won't create it. If you give up on it, then yeah, someone may stumble across your path. That may happen. But you can trust that if you give up, you give up. Like that's the only way that you're not going to create this, is if you're taking steps in the direction of giving up, then you get giving up. If you take steps in the direction of, I'm asking for it, I'm going to receive it, and even if I don't believe it, every second of the day, that I'm choosing it. I'm choosing to say yes to love. That you can trust. So yes. So tell me what's landing. Sonia says, I trusted and I asked for it. There was a false one that led me to the unicorn love I have now found. And yeah, what if it's not even a false one? What if it was the training wheels one that just actually cracked open your heart enough to go, I actually really want this. I really do care about this. I like to call some of those training wheels relationships because I can look back and see, well, I see how all of my relationships contribute. I really don't have that sense of regret with anything in my life at all, even like major face plants that I've basically lost everything in my life and had to rebuild. Even those moments I don't regret because I don't see how that supports me. But it is more than, I will say it's an interesting combination between asking for it and taking steps towards it. You can trust that if you don't want to meet new people, that you're probably not going to meet your person. Like, you have to want to meet people. You do have to want to connect with people. If you're asking for a relationship, which is about connection, then you have to start connecting to people that you can trust. That's just taking inspired action in the direction of what you're creating. Mandy says, I'm creating my future today. I will not give up on me. I trust me to have my best interest, and everything is always working out for me. Yes. And how's dating going? Like, are you meeting people? Are you putting yourself out there? Are you connecting? And you can also trust that if you buy into the drama, the trauma, the sad stories of, the world of dating. I'm saying that because there is a big pull in this reality, in this world, where there's a lot of this drama and trauma when it comes to dating. And that can be almost the norm to go into, the horror stories, and online dating is this, and they are all that. Like, you can trust that if you're doing a they when it comes to online dating, if you're doing these global generalizations, they are all that you are basically cutting yourself off from receiving a love relationship, because you are also not all the women are. You're not that. So let's not do that to other people. So you can trust that, what you put out there probably will come back. So be aware, just be aware of where are you making these global generalizations that all men are like this online, or online dating is this, or Match is this, eHarmony is this, even with specific sites. And within the awareness piece, like I generally say, it's not about the site, but there's also the awareness of, okay, if you are more of the hippie, yogi, spiritual woman, and you are on atheist men online dating site or whatever, that's just not a match. Like, if you want to kind of notice. So that's why I generally send people to the bigger sites. Looking back, I see that my dating was slowly getting me to a closer match to my person, but at that time I wasn't consciously doing anything to draw my person in. Cool. So yeah. And so how can you continuously be aware? mean, this is what I'm doing in the next incubator because of the real awareness that if people are in the fighting against getting hurt, or if people are people's bodies, so this is not a thinking thing. If your body is in the fighting against, if your body is in the protection mode, which are the nervous system's oldest parts, and that tends to be a default, but it's even more active when we have a story around that. So if there's a story, and I'm not saying story in the way that, oh, you're making up stories. I'm saying story in the way of, this is what happened to me and I got hurt, and this, I'm not going to let this happen again. If you have that story that has that emotional charge from your past in your cells, then you're cutting yourself off from the ability to connect more deeply. Like, you may be able to show up on a date, you may be able to, type some emails, but if that is functioning in your energy, it's going to keep you from meeting someone who can have a deeper connection. And if that is functioning in your world, it's probably hard to actually connect with yourself in a way that's nurturing and comforting. So you got to practice those skills, practice that. So, for many of you who are in Super Love today, we're doing our group call, and I really want to talk about ways we play, because the interesting thing about play is that you can't get into play unless you're feeling safe. I mean, think about that. Like, oh my goodness, girl, you're snoring too loud right now, please. Okay. You can't. So when you're in play, the natural state that occurs before that is a sense of safety and relaxation. So that's a cool thing. So how can you put more of that in your world so that your body is experiencing more of that? Leslie says, yep, I'm holding on to a few stories about past relationships. Yeah, so then you can start telling yourself, and this is, doing some of what can occur there is doing a quality check and practicing that was then, this is now stuff. And let's actually do that, because I think that's a really good thing, because everything I'm talking about is coming from these stories of what we decided dating is, especially for all of us who are coming into our, maybe 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, where, in our early teen 20s years, there was no technology that was around dating. So then, if you got into a marriage and were in another relationship for years, and then you're coming into the world of dating after all that, and now, embarking into this space where there's technology and things are different, and it can feel really wrong and awkward and inauthentic. And so there can be a lot of that stuff around, like, okay, this isn't going to work. This isn't, what I'm used to, or, how this isn't real connection. So that's the other thing, is like, you can trust that you can create connections online, that you can actually create connections. How many of you have I not even met in person? And I feel extremely connected to all of you. And that is because there's a conscious container and space for it. And that we are choosing to be open and share ourselves and be vulnerable and do the things that help us connect. So if there's any stories in your world around that, that you actually can't connect online, and maybe part of the story as well, I can't connect to anyone. I need to meet someone organically, which typically when people say that, they're like hoping to meet someone at a coffee shop. And it's like, you think that going online where there's thousands of single people who are putting themselves out there is less helpful than showing up in a coffee shop where there may be like one person in your age range and they're probably not even single. Like, what are, just kind of it's funny. Anyway, so let's play with this. So what bringing up in your world, and you can even take out a little piece of paper. We're going to do this kind of quickly. Take out a piece of paper and just start jotting down all of these things. Maybe there are stories from the past that hold you back or make you feel like, make you feel unsafe opening your heart again. Maybe there are things that you've decided about dating. Have you decided that online dating is bad or not for you, or just too scary or full of scammers? Like, what are those stories that you've made up? If, and I know you may be really convinced of those still, but whatever it is that feels like a problem, put it on the paper. And maybe even things like, until I lose 10 pounds. It may be things like, well, I need closure with this past relationship or I can't move on. Like, what if you never need closure? What if you never need it? Like, what if? So just putting anything down. And then if there's some things that you're just like, oh, you're rushing me, Macy, I have too much, I don't know. Then just put like a squiggle or a symbol that's going to be the catch-all for that on your paper. So let it be anything that I haven't been able to access or express or reach right now that's holding me back. Put it on that piece of paper. So we're going to do a little meditation that I didn't expect to do. Yes, the UPS man can probably deliver him to you. We'll see how long that takes. Putting it all on the paper. We're going to do a meditation. Many of you probably have done this with me, but it's called That Was Then and This Is Now. So right now, looking at that piece of paper with these things on it, old stories, fears, I don't want to get hurts, I need closure, I need to lose weight, like whatever the things are, putting them on that piece of paper with the catch-all symbol or squiggle. You can write catch-all, put it there, and then keep that stuff there. Be aware that that stuff is there. The energy of that stuff is there. And then coming back to yourself, coming back to you, taking a deep breath as you arrive in you. Touch your heart, be aware of your body right here and now. Acknowledge right here and now, I'm safe. Right here and now, I am choosing love. Right here and now, I am open to receiving the greatest possible love story. Right here and now, I choose to take steps towards my love story. Right here and now, I am safe meeting people. And just some of these things, just let them wash over you as you acknowledge right here and now, you are safe. You have a floor beneath you, a seat underneath you, a roof over you, air. So we're going to do this 20 times where you're going to point to the stuff on the paper and go, that was then. And then you're going to point back to you and go, this is now. And when you touch your body, this is now. Really feel that connection. This is now. Feel the sensation. So we're going to do this 20 times unless I lose count. I'm going to do my best. Follow along. Say it out loud. Just use your finger. The gesture is really important. And let's begin. That was then. This is now. That was then. This is now. Feel it. That was then. This is now. 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 Feel it. That was then. This is now. 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 One more. That was then. This is now. Close your eyes, sense it, perceive it. Be here now, be here now. Safe, secure, trusting you, showing up for you, champion for you, following and being inspired as you move forward. Doesn't matter if it feels awkward or weird, like you are safe being you. What can you do? What can you choose today that leads you forward? Maybe it's finding a site. Maybe it's finding a singles event this weekend. Maybe it's exploring a new technology like Facebook dating or Clubhouse, whatever might be something you want to just check out. Just check it out. See if it lights you up. Awesome. How was that? Share with me in the comments. That's a really powerful practice. And I'm going to reiterate something. The only way that you aren't going to have your love story is if you give up. That's it. The only way this won't happen for you is if you give up. And if you're not choosing to be aware of the natural inspired steps, you may even feel where you may be avoiding something. What is it you're avoiding? If you didn't avoid it, you would take a step forward in your love life. Notice. Be honest with yourself. Have that intimacy with yourself. Check in with yourself. Am I hiding? Am I protecting what is true for me here and now? So side note, tomorrow will be at a regular time. And Sunday, we may actually do 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I haven't decided yet. I will let you know. Yes, look at that, Leslie. I love that. Yay. So seriously, for those of you out there, it's time to, and you're in the space to date, start meeting people. Start meeting people. For those of you who sense that protection, those walls, the fears, talk to me. Reach out to me. Let's do a session. Or, you know, even for those of you who did the last incubator, the next incubator is totally different in that we're going to really focus on specific practices to connect with the vagal nerve. And that's going to be really about creating that safety within you. If you already invested in the first Love Incubator and you want to do this one, I'm offering it at half price. So let me know and I'll sign you up. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.